People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, I gotta ask you like this, and I was speaking with Amanda as well. I don't know, like, but we'd all, I'm sure a lot of us would be open to selling Aubameyang, with his contract and everything that's at play. But if we was just to focus on the player, I'm sure a lot of us would give Aubameyang a new deal or things like that. And I'm sure the club did. And, when we did hear Raul Sanllehi, last 2 years of your deals, we're going to see what you're on. If you're not on staying here, you're going to have to keep it moving. And, them words might have come back to bite him because he's looking real funny under the light with that now, because I'm seeing our top goal scorer and a top player since he's joined last year of his deal. Saka's been in the first team 5 minutes really, but he's been sick, and he's a talented young player that you want to be at this club ideally for the next 5-10 years regardless, as a fan, or someone that you'd hope helps us on our push to get back to where we want. Another contract. So Raul Sanllehi is looking really funny in the light right now. Again, these things happen, and I do think we want to renew in Saka's case his deal, and also Aubameyang's. But what if we take them same words that he said about the 2 years, right, people, and they've just said, you know what, his age, we're not going to do it. No matter how good he is, we've been here with, we've dodged one with Alexis. We've been here with Ozil, regardless of, I'm not going to get into Ozil. But what if what if the mandate has indirectly changed? He said, you know what, we made it L with Ozil. He leaves when he leaves. Let's try and get people off the wage books. And Aubameyang, we're not. He's going to be in his 30s. We're not going to give him the money he wants. He's one of the players that, if you're looking around at this side, there's not too many players that are going to bring in substantial fees or decent fees, and we will not probably get as much as we should for someone like Aubameyang, but you're probably breaking even and getting your 50 odd back. You add that to the transfer kitty, whatever it is. You look at, the club might say, okay, you know what, we've decided Aubameyang's going to go. What if the club has planned their transfer movements on Aubameyang actually leaving people, freeing up wages and all these things? Because you look at it, whether I agree with it or not, I'm just looking at the logic. Aubameyang goes, you bring in someone like Edouard or any Baidu, any Dembele, any of these young strikers, right, people? Someone like Torreira is linked with a move away from this club. Torreira goes for around 40 odd in my opinion. We've been linked with Thomas Partey. Let's just humour ourselves and say it's going to happen. That's a 40-odd release clause. So that's 2 players in, 2 players out. Again, you buy an Edouard or someone like that, you'd probably look to pay anything from 20 to 40 million. Aubameyang, you're going for 50. So there might be some spare money to add to another kitty. Do you get it? And you've kind of brought in 2 players or addressed 2 areas, a one-way player allegedly in Torreira and a contract running down in Aubameyang without actually hurting the finances already, people. Do you get it? And obviously, I know there's other players that can make money in this team, and every little helps. Maitland-Niles and Holding, I think they're 2 players in the balance. They'd probably bring in 10 to 20 million in a good day. You've got them. You've got the Mkhitaryan's. Probably anything from 10 to 20. Probably only 15. You've got a couple of players where it's every little help sort of thing. You sell them, you've got a big kitty, you add that. Again, football's not as white and black as that, and a lot of people that need to go won't go in the summer. But what if that is the central plans, people? Because looking at it, again, probably that was decided before this, but, Aubameyang could have said, I'm not signing a new deal, or we've just given up because of the demands, and it's just not public knowledge yet. But considering Arsenal's delicate position, just as a club, the amount of money we're losing really by not being in the Champions League, the mismanagement of wages and transfer spend, because you look at our last signings in the last couple of years, not too many of them have been good. We've made a mess of the wages. We're not getting engaged receipts, and we're being harmed to the point where as a club we're having to ask people to defer wages, again highlighting this delicate situation. We don't also know how the market is going to react to this as well financially. So in an ideal world, it might level the playing ground because people might have to look for young players. There might be more swapsies and stuff like that, but we just might not have, our money might not go as far as even further as it won't go as much as we thought. Like, we knew it wasn't going to get much for us, and it's got even more pessimistic sort of thing. So we might concede. You might concede by this logic, I guess, keep Aubameyang for a year, or they might say, you know what, he's gone for 50 odd, fans will have to get over it. In theory, we've got to Lacazette, regardless of as I think Lacazette on his day is a good player. I stand by him regardless of his form, but he doesn't bring in the goals. But if you look at someone, again, without looking at it just from a business proposition, you bring in an Edouard or someone who in theory is going to score goals. You've got a Lacazette, you've got other people, I guess, whereas, well, it's not Aubameyang who in theory should be able to share collectively the burden of scoring without harming things. So I did want to ask people, So I do think a couple of midfielders will go. I'm a big Torreira fan. In the same way I want to keep Aubameyang, I want to keep Torreira at the same time. But, you know, we're not where we are as a club. I just want to take pride in watching my club day in, day out, and week in, week out. And I don't think that's the case. So if Torreira really wants to leave, that's a 40-odd. You know, you're seeing Guendouzi linked with a move. You know, he might be developing to a better player than he is now. But just from a profit point of view, like the same logic with Holden and Maitland-Niles applies to him. You know, Xhaka's Xhaka's done very well to be playing well, to adjust to life under Arteta, to bring his Arsenal career back where it looked like it was in a delicate stage. And I think he's going to be here for a couple of years, and, you know, he's got no reason to leave now because it's done now with the fans. But again, depending on us, if we was to be pessimistic, let's just say we get into a position as a club collectively as we was again. Could the same things rear its head in Xhaka and the uncomfortableness he got from fans? Could he be wary of that and just say, do you know what? I'm going to be professional. I'm going to forgive whoever insulted me. I'll beg for their forgiveness. We'll keep it true to the end of the season. Arteta, you've come in and shown me nothing but love. You've got my professionalism. But come end of the season, you know, I'm trying to go back to Germany. I'm trying to do this. So he could be one of them as well. So really, there's not too... Do you know what? Any player in this team really has got a price. Like, if contracts weren't a thing, and obviously everybody's got a price, but if we was to label some untouchables in this team, for me, it would be Torreira. For me personally, I do think we need a next man like him, but for me, Torreira, Aubameyang, without a doubt. Who else? Martinelli and Saka. Really, they're the only untouchables. You could bring Leno in there as well to a slight degree, although I don't think, as good as he's been, I don't think that, rather harshly, I don't think that applies to him. But yeah, man, there's not too many, but everybody's, ironically, I'm looking at left and right in this video, not focusing, because I'm trying to think. Like, is there any really untouchables in this team, or is there any that, if I didn't mean to say untouchables, what I mean is there any players that I wouldn't personally sell if a decent money was there? Like, I look at Leno again. If you was to sell Leno, I think selling Leno and Bellerin applies to Aubameyang in that you sell these, man, you're kind of making more holes in your team, because we're going to have to buy a next right back, we're going to have to buy a next keeper. Same where Aubameyang leaves, a next striker has to come in, or someone to do something in that regards has to come through people. Do you get it? But, you know, if that wasn't a thing, I think, you know, looking at it, wouldn't mind selling Leno if the right offer was there. Bellerin, you know, right offer's there. If you give me 40 million, I can't lie, 40, 50 million right now. I'm a big Bellerin fan, but I'm looking at that. I guess you could throw Tierney in there. Tierney's just come. You know, he's a bit void to this conversation. He's just landed. Definitely entertain offers for Kolasinac. I like Xhaka. I don't think Xhaka is as bad as people make out. I do think he's been poor, but I think people don't, like, again, it's not going to sound sensible, but he does bring stuff to the side, people. I don't think he's a bad player at all. But, you know, I'd listen to offers on him. Listen to offers on Guendouzi. And again, I love Guendouzi a lot, but I'd listen to offers. Kolasinac, listen to offers. Lacazette, listening to offers, and I sound like I'm doing Lacazette dirty in that one, car. If you ask me a year from now, I'd be screwing up my face saying, "Are you look mad to even suggest that?" But him, just, you know, you got to keep it true and be honest. You know, if someone said to me, you know, I love Pepe and I wouldn't sell Pepe, but, you know, if someone could say I could kind of get my bread back if they were crazy enough, or something could happen, or I could take a small hit or something, or they promised to pay me 60 million and we bought him for 70 and it's a 10 million hit, take that on the chin and think. And this is at his form right now. There's not too many. Like, I'm Ozil, big Ozil fan, but, you know, he's one of the players that you know, if the squad was in a different way, then I don't think there'd be a need for him to leave. But I do think he's one we've got to get out the door. There are players worse ability, players that can't help us as much as he can, but for financial reasons, I do think as long as he's here, it's gonna really harm us with contracts talks and stuff like that. And you know, it's a chance to really free up the wage budget. And obviously the players on the experienced players on loan, El Nene and these sort of man there, Mkhitaryan, they're obviously up for sale with me. There's, like, you get the point. There's no one really looking around at the side, people. But on that note, I'm gonna get out of here, people. It's always a pleasure. Deluded. I'm out.